Okay, thanks for joining me again. We're going to deploy and run our test web application to our TAP environment in this video. Now you'll see here that we still have our Tanzu portal running on our view cluster that we had installed in a previous video. Next to that, we have two tabs open that are going to represent our two clusters whereby we will access our running application. So we're going to hit the AKS cluster, and we're also going to hit the EKS cluster. Now, this default text here represents the namespace on the cluster where we set up our developer namespace. Okay, so that's the structure of the URL. Now, if I just go ahead and refresh these just to confirm that we indeed do not have anything running on these hosts. Okay, so let's go ahead and change that and show something of a little more interest here. So opening up our script, okay, we're going to run the Tanzu Java web app script, and that is in the TAP workloads Java folder. Now, this will be the first time that we see Demo Magic in action. Okay, we installed this quite some time ago, it seems like, on our operator machine in the operator prereqs video. And this is the machine that I'm logged into. It's just our EC2 jump box. So we'll go ahead and hit enter here. Now, the first prompt is going to be the name of the app. And this is important because the name that you give this app, if you do not accept the Tanzu Java Web App default, will be set to this app name variable. And that variable is going to be appended to my github.com/nycpivot account. So we have to make sure that the name you give the app, there is a repository by the same name. Okay, so we'll go ahead and hit enter, accept the default. And now the next thing we're going to do is change the context to our TAP build cluster. We're now going to just list any workloads that we may have built previously, and there are none. Okay, we're starting from zero, starting from scratch. And now this is where we get busy here. So Tanzu apps workload create. Okay, this will be the name of our app in the scope of TAP. And this is going to be our Git repository. So you see nycpivot, the name of the app. So this will be a repository by that name, main branch. The type of app can be web, worker, or I think the third is server. I believe only web and worker are supported at this point. Then we label the EKS cluster, and then we're asking the auto scaling to give us a minimum of 2 pods. Now, the output of this is going to be, it started the build, but it first shows us the output, which is going to be a Kubernetes resource called a workload. Now, for our purposes, for now, all that we need to know is that the URL is set to our GitHub repository. So the next command, so we have a few suggestions here, right? So we want to pick the first one so that we can tail the output, tail the logs of our build. So if we go ahead and run that command, we will probably see the build in action, which is good. Okay, so that's what we're seeing. So the code is being downloaded and inspected for certain files so that build service can select the right build pack and then the right build tool to build our app. And then once it does that, you'll see some OCI references here because, again, Tanzu build service, once it builds our code, is going to create an OCI compliant container image. So you'll see here some build packs scrolling by. You'll see it detected that this is a Spring Boot app, and that's correct. There's a POM XML file in that project. You'll see references to our Azure Container Registry here, Tanzu Application Registry. Okay, the build was successful. And right down here at the bottom, you can see that the image was pushed to our Azure Container Registry. So all that was done by Tanzu build service. Okay, again, there are no Docker files involved here. We've replaced all of that with build packs, which can do all of that for us automatically. So this Looks like it has finished. So we'll hit the next phase here. So now we'll list our apps that we have, and we'll see that we have our Tanzu Java web app in the ready state. So we're now just going to open Tanzu Java web app to see a little bit more detail here. And the first thing that I look for here is all of these lines set to true and green. Okay, so everything looks good so far. We've got some basic info, the namespace, and so forth. So the next command, we'll go ahead and continue here, clear the screen. The way this works is the workload was the configuration for tap build to build our code. Now, the result of that is going to be what tap calls a deliverable. Okay, so if we just scroll down a little bit here, this is where we are. So the deliverable contains a reference to an image in our container registry, which actually only contains the link to the actual image. Let's go over and take a look at that. If we come over now to our Azure portal here in our container registry, you'll see that we have Tanzu Java Web App Default, and then this other one called Bundle. Now, one of these, I don't remember which one, all it does is contain the link to the actual image. Okay, and that's important for part of the cycle of so that tap knows where to get the image, and then it goes ahead and downloads that image. So let's go back to the script here. So that deliverable is embedded in our config map. So if we just list these, the deliverable is just another Kubernetes resource with a YAML configuration, API version, kind, metadata spec, and so on. But it is embedded within this config map. So what we have to do then is query our config map, Tanzu Java Web App Deliverable, and look in the data.deliverable section of that YAML and go ahead and create the YAML file, because that's what we're going to apply to our two run clusters. Okay, so this is just getting rid of the file. If it had previously existed, we haven't run this yet, so that's the reason for that error. That's fine. So now we're running this query. Go get the deliverable definition and put it into this file. Now, once we have that file, we will clear the screen, of course, and switch contexts. So the first context is going to be our EKS run cluster. And then we're going to go ahead and apply that deliverable. Now, in the context of the run cluster, that then becomes a delivery. So we go ahead and apply that deliverable, and that was created. Now, if we list our deliverables, we see that it is true. It is in the ready state. So the next thing that we'll do is the exact same thing, just on our AKS cluster. Okay, we'll go ahead and switch and apply the same configuration, the same deliverable. When we list our deliverables here, we'll see the same thing. We're looking for a true and ready state. And that's indeed the outcome here. So all that's left for us to do now is go and refresh our web pages of our two clusters. Okay, so our EKS cluster. All right, now shows our website, our test app. Okay, greetings. And then if we come over here to our AKS cluster, should be exactly the same thing. And that is exactly what we get. So we definitely now have succeeded in installing all of our tap clusters and components. We are now able to successfully deploy and run applications from it. So we're just going to take it from here and move on to the next section of our Tanzu product overviews.